Hi, it's Naomi. Welcome back to my channel. You're here in my studio, and today we're going to be talking about how to install a canvas panel into a frame. It's very easy to frame this panel and very fast. It only takes like 2 minutes to go from this to this. It's attached, it's secure, and there's a wire. Very fast and easy. But the trick is to get all the things together. So this video is going to be broken down into 3 parts. First part, we're going to talk about sourcing the frame. Second part, we're going to talk about how to attach the panel to the frame. And then the third part is how to attach the wire to the frame securely, so that thing is not going to fall down from the wall. So first of all, let's talk about where you can get a frame like this. This would be called an open stock frame. This doesn't have glass or mat or anything like that. It's just the wood frame part. So you can buy one like this at a craft supply store, maybe Hobby Lobby or Michael's. And if you can't find the exact frame, they only have standard sizes at those stores. They don't carry all the styles. You can also get it from an art supply store like Blick, or online there's Jerry's Artorama. They will sell open stock frames. Sometimes they call them plein air frames, again with the standard size. If you have an odd size, you're going to want to get that custom built at a frame shop, and they can build you just the frame. Oh, another way I used to do it when I was first starting out and trying to save money is I would go to Goodwill and buy an old frame with art in it or whatever. I would come home and take out the glass and the matting and the art and throw that away and keep the frame. And then I'd build a panel to fit that frame and paint on that panel. And then when it came time to mount the canvas to the frame, this is how I do it. So let's just say wherever you got your frame, you have just a plain old frame and you have the canvas that fits it perfectly. Yes? Okay, next step. Maybe some of you are wondering why I threw away the glass in the last statement. The answer is because I am framing oil paintings and acrylic paintings this way. Especially oil paintings need oxygen in order for them to fully cure. So if your painting is less than like 5 years old and it's an oil painting, you for sure do not want to use glass. On to step 2, which is attaching the panel to the frame. So I just want to say that this works for any kind of panel, even if it's not made of wood. There's also metal panels out there, and there's also cardboard panels out. Now there's 2 ways to attach that I know of. Maybe there's more, but 2 framing methods to attach the panel to the frame. One is using offset clips. Let me show you this up close. These come in different sizes, and they look like the letter Z. Like that, and there's room for 2 screws on that. Now you're not going to use the screw side that goes on the panel. You're just going to screw it into the frame only. But you want to find the correct size, so that way when, can you see this? When it goes in like that, you screw here and it pushes down right there. See that? So this is called an offset clip, and you can find these at the craft store like Michael's, Hobby Lobby. The other way that I prefer, because this is a point driver. This one is called Fletcher, the brand name, but I think there's many different brands of these out there. And they come in 2 different styles of points. Let me show you one. These are called framers points. And they come like in a long roll like this. See that? But this will just shoot out one at a time out of the stack. Like this. I'm going to show you. It's going to be loud. Watch out. See that? But it just shoots this little brad right into the frame right there. And then if you want to remove it, you wiggle it with your finger back and forth like this. I just wanted to mention really quick why I have two different point drivers. This one shoots flexible points and they're a little different. You can bend them up and down and reuse, and then, yeah, so you can keep the points in place and then just bend them up, put your painting in, and then bend them back down. These are one-time use point drivers, and so if you want to change it out, you have to take them out completely. And so you'd think that I would prefer this one because it's easier to put them in and out. However, I find that the paintings don't stay in place as well with that. So I prefer these just because once they're in, they're really secure. And I don't change my paintings super often, so I prefer this one. Now, if I had to change them really often and I didn't care if they were a little bit wiggly, this was what I would prefer. I'm going to do this one really fast using this one. Oh, we ran out. Perfect. Then I can show you how to refill it. So you just lift up this little gizmo and you roll it under so that the presser foot is out of the way. And now you see the hole where that whole strip of things go into. This one broke a little bit. And there's a wrong and a right direction on this, but you'll see when you are using it. See, one side has the little grooves and one side is smooth. And you just put that back in there. It's fully loaded, ready to go. Now that's in there. It's not going anywhere. See, you can push from this side, it won't fall out. But if I would ever want to change the painting in here, all I have to do is wiggle on all of these and they'll come back out and I can reuse the frame if I want to. So I like this option, but this option is also just as good. And it works similarly where you would screw these into the frame only, and then using like a very small little screw so it doesn't go through to the, and then you can also reuse the frame by just unscrewing that to loosen it, wiggling it to the side, and then your panel will come out. So yeah, those are the two options for attaching the panel to the frame. All right, we're to step 3, attaching a wire to the back of the frame. You need a little attachment gizmo, piece of hardware to get the wood to accept a wire. So we have several options that are out there. This is for a large canvas. This is like called a D-ring, and it's called a strap one because it's got a long strap. This is a conventional one for a small frame. Let's see if you can see it. This is called a D-ring. You just screw this piece into the wood frame and then you attach the wire to this and you can see how it moves freely. Another option is this. This is actually one of the strongest ways of doing it because there's no moving parts for it to wear out. So this attaches to the wood and then the wire attaches to this part. The other nice thing about this is it's really narrow. So if you are using a wood frame that's very narrow, then this is the way to go. It's really nice. If you don't have access to any of those, although you can find them at a craft store, for sure, like if you like a frame supply store with offset clips and all that stuff will for sure have something like this, or the hardware store. They probably have something like this, the bigger one. You probably need to go to a frame supply shop for this one, I think. But every single hardware store has these little guys. But you know what? These are cripples to install. I hate them. First of all, they stick out from the frame unless you can get them in to go sideways somehow. And second of all, you have to use like your hands or like a little tool to twist them in like this, whereas all of these other ones, you just use a screw and a screwdriver, and it makes it so much nicer. So notice that every single kind I showed you gets attached with a screw. Even this needs to get twisted in. I've actually seen a painting fall off the wall one time. I was hanging a show, and we were like, oh my gosh, oh no, and it got a little dented and stuff, and then we looked, and the person had attached the wire to the frame using a thumbtack. And maybe in the moment it looks secure, but it's really not, because there's no, what's that called, thread holding it. So it just pulled straight back out because the thumbtack just went in, and then with a little pressure, it just pulled right back out. So this is not a secure way to hang a painting. Whatever you do, use some kind of thing that screws in so that it's really secure. Okay, here's a tip that might seem silly, but you don't even understand how many times I've done this. But you want to flip your painting over once it's attached into the frame and see where is the top and where is the bottom, and then put the top towards you. So that way you always attach the wire at the top end rather than hang it upside down. So for today's painting, it's pretty small. This is a 10 by 16. So I'm just going to use one of these small basic ones, and also make sure that your screw is nice and short so that it doesn't go through the front of the frame. This is like a 1/2 inch screw, so it maybe even less. So it really doesn't get too far into the wood, but yet it does hold it nice and strong. So what I like to do is I take one of these awls rather than start with a drill. A drill can accidentally get through to the front, so I like to use one of these awls, and I just use like some guide point on the side of the awl like this, and I measure down from the top. This much to here is where I'll put the hole on each side. So, and then you just push a hole in, and it really is it's a nice start for the screw without getting through to the front. So you'll just do that on both sides. Then you just place your D-ring in there, and then set the screw inside the hole you just made. Then you can use a screwdriver, either a mechanical one or just the old-fashioned kind. I'll do one of each so you can see it's really fast each way. Good on that side. Good on that side. Okay, so now these are attached both sides and the same distance down from the top. It's not perfectly perfect. It's okay, because a wire will self-level. Oh, by the way, that's why I use wire. I know it's sometimes popular to have these little claw clips things that you just kind of nail in right here or screw in at the top, but those don't let you get a perfect level. Okay, let's talk about wire. Here's my little wire dispenser. I know there's twine on here, but do not hang your painting using twine. It does not last. This is just for, you know, odds and ends around the studio if I need to tie something up. It's not for picture framing. But I have 2 thicknesses of wire. This is the heavier duty stuff, and if I need that 2 screw heavy duty double strap D-ring like I showed you earlier, I'll use this heavier wire for, you know, larger scale paintings. This small one works just fine for this size canvas and frame. It's a really thin wire, but it's coated with plastic, which I enjoy. I like the plastic because it saves my fingers. But get what you can, find what you can at your local craft store. If you can't find anything, there, you know, regular old wire will work. But I don't recommend anything that will rot or get moldy because it will disintegrate after a few years. So we want a nice strong thing that will hold our painting on the wall indefinitely. So what you'll do, what I like to do to measure how much wire you need is I measure between these two. I know this is a 10 by 16 and the 10 is the short way, so this is 10 inches. And then I add 6 inches, so it'll be 16 inches. And if this happens to be pretty far down from the top, I might add another inch, but this ended up being kind of small. So I'm gonna go with 16 inches here of wire. I attached a ruler to the top of my holder thing, so I can just measure according to here, get 16 inches. I like 3 inches on each side in order to do the next step. I was taught this method by a local framer who was doing my framing for me, and eventually I learned how to frame gradually over time by just doing this little piece by myself and that little piece by myself until now I'm at the point where I am now. But she taught me how to do this, and I videotaped her while she was doing it so that I could learn how to do it for myself. And now I'm passing that knowledge on to you. So you're going to take your wire and kind of imagine that it's like halfway, like maybe fold it in half, kind of get the halfway mark, but we know that each side gets 3 inches of playroom. So what you'll do is go down from the top, so down from the top, and give yourself about 3 inches. Yes. Now take the little tail, go over the top of the other one, and then up from the bottom. And then before you tighten, you're going to go through the hole. And now you're going to tighten both, pull both of the tails, the long and the short tail, really hard. Sometimes I use my my pliers to get a good tug. Let me show you this really closely. See that? It looks like a little pretzel. I'll show you it again on the other side. Okay. You're going to go down from the top. You might have to lift it up, so down from the top. Now this one matters where it gets tightened because you want the center point to be close to the top but not over it. Not like out here. You don't want to see this. You don't want to see this outside of the frame. You want it to be hidden by the frame. So I like it actually hidden with inside the frame so that it can be kind of flush. Does that make sense? So right where your finger hits there, and I've got pulling tension on this free side, I'm going to go over the top like that and make a nice crease, okay, with the wire. Now, keeping this on the side, I'm going to go up from the bottom. Yep, up from the bottom. And now this loop is available, and now the end of this little short thing goes through that loop. Yes? Now we're going to pull on this really tight. Make sure both are really tight. Pull, pull. I do that because now these are locked on there. They do not move and they don't give. Okay, so the last step, you have these little tails sticking out and they look ugly. So you want to get them to spin around the wire. Sometimes it can get long. Like you only need a small amount like that. There's plenty of there. There's probably like 2 or 3 inches on there. So if I wanted to cut off this tail, I could and save myself some time of spinning like that. Then I like to just make sure that end is nice and flush and pinch it off so that it doesn't scratch anybody or the wall. So there. I'll show you what it looks like up close. Like that. Okay, I've seen a lot of artists frame like this, and this actually probably will hold just because the it's coated with rubber, so it's catching. There's friction, but I'm just going to pull on it. Oh, never mind. It pulled off. But this one, watch this. I'm going to pull on it, and all it will do is tighten it more. So that's why we do the pretzel knot as opposed to just wrapping. Hope that helps. So then, this is the final product. Securely attached, the wire is securely strong. It's ready to hang on your wall. Happy framing!